Hello, Cinecore family. This is Kelly Webb from Cinecore Human Resources. Finally excited to get us kicked off with our leadership development program for 2016 calendar year. This is our kickoff webinar for the LEAD program, which stands for Leadership, Engagement, Accountability, and Development. I appreciate your patience while we were getting this webinar completed, and let's just dive right into it. We're going to start off with a discussion of what is mentoring so we can make sure that we're all on the same page. When we started this program, 5 years ago now, we went through a lot of research in a short amount of time to figure out what were some of the mentoring programs doing, what was best practice, and how we could incorporate that and make it effective for Cinecore. So the first piece, mentoring is a developmental partnership. The mentor shares knowledge, skills, information, their perspective, to support the personal and professional growth of the mentee. So this is information that they already possess, the knowledge and skills that they've gained through their career, and then their perspective from their position and in the foundation. It is a powerful tool supporting our leadership development, and it helps to further Cinecore's mission to continue to grow and serve our clients. A mentor is a guide who can help the mentee find the right direction and who can help develop solutions to issues. Mentors rely on their skills and experiences to help the mentee. Mentoring is about risk, vulnerability, and trust. So you do have to take that time, open up, really share about problems, both the mentor and mentee, problems, how you've overcome them, lessons learned. So it really is important to build that trust and relationship on the front end. And of course, the success of the mentoring relationship depends to a very large degree upon your attitude and your commitment, and that is both on the part of the mentor and the mentee. Formal mentoring programs have a beginning and an end. Ours is on a calendar year, so our formal kickoff is January 25th, 2016, and it ends on December 31st, 2016. We have a formal matching process. For Cinecore, we don't go out and try to handpick who we think we want to have as the leaders in our foundation. It's an application process where people have to raise their hand and say, yes, I want to be a part of this. And then once we receive those applications based on the criteria, if they're approved, then we go through the formal matching process, looking at what the mentee is, what their career path is that they're interested in, and the direction that they're going, what might be the potential match for mentor strengths that they would need to get there. You must have structured goals for the mentee. So goal sheets are going to be sent out after the completion of this webinar for mentees to fill out. The mentee should work with their supervisor, facility director, whoever that direct reporting structure is, as well as their mentor to help set those goals for each person. And then you have to have scheduled meeting times between the mentor and the mentee. For those of you who are new to this program program does require a time commitment. So as you get to the end of this webinar and you realize the amount of time that's going to be spent within this program, really ask yourself that question. Is this year the year that I have the time to commit to this, because it is a time commitment. The mentee schedules at least 2 hours per month with their mentor. It is put on the calendar. Mentees will need to discuss in advance how the time is going to be structured with the mentor. Is it 30 minutes every week, 1 hour every other week? And then you're going to need to send a recurring calendar appointment so the time is blocked off. We're going to have documented checkpoints. You're going to have 60-day follow-up forms sent out to the mentee to help ensure that there's progress throughout the year, and a final evaluation will be done at the end of the year. And then we also have a method for no-fault termination. If the mentorship is not working for any reason, either the mentor or the mentee can contact HR to request a no-fault termination and reassignment to another mentor. Again, this mentoring program only works if you have that trust and accountability within that mentoring relationship. So if phone calls are being missed, and things are happening, or there's not really those in-depth discussions that we're looking for to help development, then either the mentor or the mentee can contact HR and say, this isn't working. So what are the benefits of the mentoring portion of the program? For the mentors, You have an opportunity to develop and or improve interpersonal leadership and coaching skills. The satisfaction of passing on knowledge, skills, and experience to others. And actually a big piece of this is reverse mentoring as you learn about other positions, departments, or locations. So the mentors don't necessarily have, all of the knowledge. There's knowledge that the mentees have as well, as we're sharing across locations and across departments. So there's also learning opportunities for the mentors as well. Increased visibility within the foundation, and the opportunity to give back to the industry by assisting in the development of upcoming leaders in the foundation, and the opportunity to expand your network and improve communication across facilities. Mentees get to gain insight into the perspective of more experienced staff. That's why we stagger the mentors and mentee relationships. Tier 1 is always mentored by Tier 2 or Tier 3. Tier 2 by Tier 3 or executive management, and then Tier 3 by executive management. You can improve work performance by shortening the learning curve. Hopefully you'll be learning from some of the missteps of your mentors. They'll be sharing those with you, and hopefully you won't have to make some of those same missteps or mistakes that they've made. Developing and improving leadership strengths and characteristics, that is what this program is all about, is trying to focus on how you can become the best leader that you can be. Learning new professional and technical skills. There's a lot of training and things that are available to you through this program, so taking those opportunities to learn those professional and technical skills. Receiving valuable career advice and gaining access to a larger network. The other item is receiving personal support from your mentor. This is actually a big piece of what people have really felt is valuable in prior years. A lot of times we need a safe place where we can go and possibly vent about a situation that may be happening at work. Maybe it's with another person, maybe it's with a supervisor. And you need to say, I just need to get this off my chest. And so by doing that, you can vent and get some of that emotion out, but then turn it to what is the resolution. If I'm having an issue communicating with Fred, and you need to vent about that, okay, so now we've vented, so let's talk about what do you think are the solutions to fixing this communication issue with Fred. And then gain a broader view of the challenges facing the foundation. Again, this can be done by having mentor-mentee relationships across facilities, and by people in facilities having mentors at the corporate office, and vice versa, people at the corporate office having mentors or mentees in the facility. So it really is understanding where people are coming from different locations in the foundation. Mentor roles and responsibilities. So what will you be responsible for? So some other verbiage for mentor may be role model, trusted coach, sponsor, or advisor. The responsibilities include be available as scheduled. Give your mentee your undivided attention during the time that's scheduled. Schedule it, block it off on your calendar. Don't try to multitask. What I've done to do this webinar, I've shut down my email, I've put my phone on Do Not Disturb, and I've put a piece of paper on the outside of my door saying please do not disturb. So whatever you have to do to give your mentee that either 30 minutes every week or 1 hour every other week, please make sure that you're able to give them their undivided attention. And please, guys, if you see this going on, please don't go knock on the door of the mentor who's trying to get this done. Help identify the strengths and weaknesses, and provide insight, feedback, and knowledge that support the goal achievement of the mentee. You will have a copy of their goals that you should keep in a file with their goals, their Hogan if they have that, strengths-based leadership, the documents that you need on an ongoing basis to refer back to as you're working with your mentee throughout the year. You should create an atmosphere where your mentee feels free to say what is on his or her mind by being supportive in your communication. And then ask questions that help the mentee become aware of assumptions, beliefs, and attitudes that may be hindering him or her in getting results. We all come to the table with a set of experiences which help create filters, and a lot of times we look at information, or we're watching news feeds or whatever that support whatever our assumptions and beliefs are. And so how do we break through some of those filters and get the person, first of all, to even be aware that they have that filter. Actively listen when meeting or when having your call. Provide guidance, help interpret events, and develop solutions to current challenges. And so maybe an understanding, maybe there's, if I'm working with a mentee and they're asking the questions, I don't understand why we're doing this way. I might have knowledge of maybe from exec team or from a corporate level where I can say, well, the decision behind that was XYZ. And so understanding the why behind it sometimes will help to interpret those events. Avoid making decisions for your mentee. So you can help them develop the solution, but avoid coming up with a solution for the mentee. A question might be, I'm having trouble with Fred, what do I do? We'll talk through what the issue is with Fred, and then say, okay, what do you think your best approach might be? And so talk them through what that indecision will be on how they're going to approach it. But remember, leadership development is the goal of this program. So you can start talking about a particular issue or concern or situation, such as I'm having an issue communicating with Fred, and talk about how that's going to be resolved, but then take it up to the next level. What is the leadership component of that? Is it about how we have to modify our own personal communication? What are we doing to help that situation from a leadership perspective? Is there something that we need to do? Do we need to modify our communication, and how we do that for various personalities, not only Fred? And so take it up to that next level of leadership development instead of just starting in that operational or situational conversation. Support supervision and foundation goals and culture. Be committed to the mentoring relationship, respect the individual, and honor the confidentiality of the relationship. And we'll talk a little bit more about confidentiality here in just a moment. If at any point you feel you're not qualified to handle certain situations or problems, you can refer the mentee to the appropriate party. It could be that you refer them back to their supervisor. Maybe there's something specific going on at their location that they need to discuss. Maybe it's a situation that HR needs to be involved in. But certainly you can refer them back to the mentee, and that is absolutely appropriate. Mentee roles and responsibilities. So other verbiage for mentee might be competent professional, learner, apprentice, or protege. Mentee responsibilities. First and foremost, you are the driving force for your own development. If you do not make the phone call, it is not the responsibility of your mentor to call you after you've missed your phone call. If you missed the whole phone call, that is still your responsibility. What I will tell you, if you think you're going to miss the phone call, contact them before the phone call, before the scheduled time. Do not leave your mentor sitting at the phone waiting for you to call, and then you miss the call. Everyone is busy. I get it. We all are. It is a common courtesy. If you have to reschedule, that's fine. We all have to do it, sometimes frequently. I'm guilty of it myself, but do not leave that person sitting there waiting on you without rescheduling in advance. And I know I'm beating that drum. Take responsibility for your own growth and development, including scheduling appointments and completing your mentoring program documentation on schedule. Don't let it get to a point where your mentor or someone from the HR department is following up on your appointments or documentation. You take ownership of your development. And appointment etiquette is basically, if you set the appointment, and this is for any appointment, not just in the leadership development program, if you are the person scheduling the appointment, you are the person that should be making the call, unless you set up some other, that they are supposed to call you at some other time. But that is the standard appointment etiquette. Set clear goals and objectives, and take the initiative in reaching your goals. These are your goals, not your mentor's goals. They should be something that you're striving towards, and your mentor is there to help you overcome any obstacles, help you work through any obstacles to your goals. But at the end of the day, your personal and professional development and your career achievement, it's in your hands, and we're just trying to provide support to get there. Be prepared for your mentoring meetings with questions or input on your specific mentoring goals. This is your meeting. Be the driver. Have an agenda. Be on time for scheduled meetings. I've already beat that drum. And so for in the part of having an agenda, so these are things that are important to you for your growth. But also your mentor, based on what your goals are, may have things for you as well, whether it's an article to read and discuss, whether it's working on your Hogan or your strengths-based leadership assessment. So there will be things that you'll be working on with your mentor that they might drive, but at the end of the day, this is your meeting. Be sure you bring to it what you want to discuss. Mentoring meetings should be results-oriented, not just a venting session. We did cover that briefly. Be open to feedback from your mentor. Actively listen during meetings. It goes both ways. Shut down your email. Put a note on your door. You don't multitask during your meetings either. Ask questions and take advantage of your mentor's expertise and experience. Be committed to the mentoring relationship. Respect the individual and honor the confidentiality of the relationship. So if I, in sharing with my mentor or my mentee something that's happened where I had what I like to call a life lesson learned, and so I'm opening up, I'm talking about my mistakes, what I learned from it, hopefully again to shorten their learning curve. That doesn't mean that they go walking down the hall after we get off the phone and say, you would not believe what Kelly Webb did. So just be sure that the confidentiality goes both ways. Again, confidentiality. So a major part of the program is to discuss issues you are having with your mentor. Their role as your mentor is to guide you to overcome issues and obstacles to your goals. So you have to open up, you have to be vulnerable, and your mentor should be doing the same with you. Mentors will be expected to maintain confidentiality except in the event where it presents significant legal risk to the foundation. For example, allegations of client abuse and neglect, employee discrimination, sexual harassment, etc. If a mentor receives information that represents potential legal risk to the foundation, they are to inform the mentee, to notify human resources for further investigation, but the mentor also informs HR as well. And again, that's just to ensure that it's such a serious issue, just in case the mentee gets cold feet and does not want to notify human resources after discussing it. At the end of the day, it's a legal risk for the foundation, and we have to mitigate that, so HR needs to know about it. Let me know if you have any questions around that. So a carryover tool that we're using from 2015, we added a few tools last year, and those will continue. We will have a mentoring agreement that outlines some of the basic items we cover in this webinar today, along with the agreed upon schedule for the mentoring appointments. Both the mentor and mentee will sign, demonstrating their commitment to the relationship and to that schedule. Another tool we will be using this year, or tools, strengths-based leadership assessment and or the Hogan results. And the Hogan is for managers. That is a manager assessment. Strengths-based leadership, everyone can take the strengths-based leadership. So if you have not taken the strengths-based leadership assessment, please contact Stephanie Alzadi for the code to take the assessment and get a copy of the book from your facility director or department head to read. It's a really short read, it's really good, and it gives you the context for how to use the strengths-based leadership results. And so for all of our managers, everyone should have had their Hogan assessment completed recently for the managers conference, so you should all have that, so please be sure to send that to your mentor as well. For all non-manager participants, please contact Stephanie for the code to take the strengths-based leadership assessment, and you can also get a copy of the book from your facility director or department head to read. Again, it's a short read, but it's really good, and we'll talk just briefly about that assessment. So the deadline for the strengths-based leadership assessment is February 12th, and you'll have a list of deadlines at the end of this, and I will also include that in an email that will be following this webinar. But be sure that if you want to write these down, you can, but they will be later in the webinar and will go out in an email. Once you take the strengths-based leadership assessment, you will need to scan those results to your mentor and to HR no later than February 12th. And again, please don't make us chase you down for the assessments results. Please make sure that you request the code and that you take the assessment. I do recommend reading the book. You don't have to, but I do think it helps you understand it. You will be responsible for selecting at least one action item every other month from the Strengths-Based Leadership Report, and report those back to your mentor. You guys can work on which ones you think you want to work on. And I'm happy to assist both the mentees and the mentors to focus on how you want to utilize either the strengths-based results or the Hogan assessment as a development tool. We can schedule a conference call and walk through, and I can make some recommendations or ask some questions and see what direction you guys want to go based on what you're working on, and really help you get some good use out of these tools. They're just great tools to use. So this is an example of my strengths-based leadership that I took back in 2010. It's been a while. And so one of my strengths, this is what the results look like. One of my strengths is leading with input. And so mine was about building trust and making sure that I'm giving accurate information with all the compliance items around human resources and things like that, making sure that I can be a resource to others and making sure I have the knowledge base to do so. And this was my trigger. You can see my notes to go back and test for my PHR or my SPHR. So that was my kick in the pants to go back and do that, because I'd taken my PHR back in 2000 and I'd let it lapse. So this got me back on track with that. And so this is just one example of a result of what I did based on the feedback and recommended activities from strengths-based leadership. So let's talk a little bit more, one more slide about strengths-based leadership. So this is the whole premise of strengths-based leadership. If you are leading from a place of your strengths, then it basically energizes you, because it helps to build your confidence, because it's something that you're good at. Typically you like those things. When you're good at them, you like them, you want to do them more. And so this really helps you figure out where your intersection is for success. So you start with your values, who you really are. When you tell the truth to yourself, what is really important to you in your life, what's okay, what's not okay, what do you like about your work, what do you not like about your work. If you do not like your work and what you're doing, your values will be compromised. If there's not that intersection there with your values, you're not going to end up in a good spot with your work. Now, if you look at what your company truly values, and your actions and behaviors and how that fits in with your company values, then you see these things starting to align. So for Synacor, we value service to others, faith, good work ethic, accountability, producing quality programs to assist our clients, not only in their sobriety, but in their relationships, in their ability to be independent. So if you tune your actions and your values in, and they mesh with Synacor's, you're starting to align to that sweet spot in the middle with success. And then your natural strengths and skills, where you get your energy from. You're going to thrive the most when you're able to use your natural strengths at work. And so that's where the strengths-based leadership assessment comes in. That's a tool where you're answering the questions, you're figuring it out. It's all self-based on what you decide. And so you're telling what your natural strengths are, and that's how your results come back out. And so if you're in a job where you're not able to use your strengths, it's going to drain you and you're going to feel unhappy. And I'll give you a for example. One of my strengths is the whole leading with input and learner strengths. And so I really enjoy mentoring, the one-on-one, the coaching, the training. Those are things that really energize me. Some of the things that drain me are dealing with vendors, benefits really drains me. I'm really drained when we go through benefits open enrollment. Thank goodness we have B and Stephanie to assist with those things. But that's why I like putting my mentoring appointments that I do have in the afternoons, because that's when my energy tends to get a little lower during the day, and I put the things that I don't like in the morning, whether it's a vendor call or reviewing a budget or something like that. The things that I don't like, I put in the morning when I have more energy, and so I can get through them more quickly. In the afternoon, when I need that pick-me-up, I'll schedule my mentoring appointments because when I get off the phone, I'm super jazzed up and I'm ready to go through the rest of my day. And so as you figure out what your strengths are, you're going to be able to start aligning that with your day and your schedule so you can be even more effective. So the whole point is using this assessment to find your intersection for you and how you can be most successful with your job. Okay, moving on. So a carryover tool from 2014. This is something for both the mentors and the mentees. Both parties are to keep confidential notes of your conversations just to keep track of the topics discussed. This is not anything that gets turned into HR. It's not anything that gets turned into a supervisor. This is just for your benefit because we all have a ton of stuff going on and we're running 90 to nothing. So it's just a way to track your notes, takeaways from the conversations, any assignments that you might have had from the appointment. And so the purpose is to help both parties remember what are those important items that we've covered, what are the follow-ups that we still need. And so I put together an example. I had a mentor back in 2013. Her name was Lee, and I did get her permission to use this back in 2013. And so we started earlier in January that year. We had our initial mentoring call question set, which you guys will see here in just a minute. So we went through, and that helps build that relationship. Then we did her Hogan survey review the next week. And then the following week after that, we looked at strengths-based leadership. And she wanted specifically to work on some action steps, on communication, on team building. And so we had an article that we were using from a blog, What Stupid Stuff Are We Doing? Because she wanted to use that to help build the team. And when that didn't get done, then I highlighted it. So it would jump out at me as I got down further. And then I did the same thing on the Toastmasters class that she was going to find. You'll see that come up again in February. That continued to come up until about April or May. And so it was something that we kept going back to. And so this is just a tracking tool. You can do it in Excel, you can do it in Word, whatever you're comfortable with on a piece of paper in a file folder, as long as you keep it confidential. That's the main purpose of this. Again, it's just so you can track the discussions that you're having with your mentees, so you can track what your assignments might be and what you feel you're gaining from this relationship. So next steps for the mentee. Every mentee will receive the Mentoring Goals worksheet after this webinar. I'll be sending out an email. I'll send out the link to the webinar. Then I'll send out the additional forms tomorrow. Follow the directions on the form, and then you'll meet with your facility director or your direct supervisor or your department head no later than February 19th. And so that gives you time to really think about your goals, work on those, and you can meet with your facility director or department head prior to that date. That's just the latest date. So what I wouldn't recommend is waiting until the morning of the 19th to even start thinking about your goals and scheduling that appointment at the last minute with the person you need to schedule it with, because if you don't get this in advance, they might be too busy on the 19th and then you're going to be late. One of the big no-nos of this leadership development program is being late with your documentation, not showing up on time for appointments, and not sending that email to say, hey, I'm going to be late, can we reschedule? You are a leader. You have raised your hand and said, I want to be a leader for Synacor Foundation. So the start is accountability within this program. So please do not be late on the deadlines. Schedule your first phone call with your mentor no later than February 5th, 2016. This does not mean you have to wait till the 5th. It can be sometime after you finish this webinar until February 5th. So during the phone call, both the mentor and the mentee will share their answers to the first meeting question set. It's the next slide, and I will also be sending that out with this question set with the goal sheet. The key here is to be honest. I talk about both personal and professional answers to the questions. It's appropriate, it's necessary, it's going to be uncomfortable, but I'm sorry, you can't get to, you can't build that rapport and get to the heart of where some of the obstacles and filters and things that we're going to be working on may be coming from if you're not honest about your background and how you got to where you are. And so it can be uncomfortable and it can be personal. So we'll go through these questions real quick. So be sure you prepare in advance for your first mentoring call. Again, honesty is the key. Tell me in your own words why you're participating in this program. Both mentor and mentee answer. Why are you a mentor? Why do you want to be a mentor in this program? Hopefully it's not just because somebody called and said, hey, can you be a mentor? And I know it's not. And then mentees, why are you participating in this program? What do you hope to get out of it? Tell it in your own words. What makes you tick? What makes you excited about your work? What makes you want to get out of bed in the morning and get to work? It could be very personal. It could be my family and my kids. It could be about giving back to others. There's a whole list of reasons why people want to work or why they get excited about work. But what is it about you what makes you tick and make you want to go to work? What makes you special? What do you bring to the table that helps you excel at what you're doing in this position? What will make you excel at the next position that you want to be at in your career, or ultimately where you want to be at in your career? Why did you get involved in the field or career that you're in now? And I fell into HR. I was going to school to be a counselor and realized I did good to take care of myself and my own baggage, much less everybody else's. And so I got my degree in psychology and fell into HR while I was getting my degree. So it was a good move for me. How do you stay motivated? There are days that we are all not motivated. What do you do to get through those days? Mine's benefits enrollment. And you have to find those bright spots. And again, that's where you come back to your strengths. What frustrates you? I've got a list. But truly, what are some of the things that, whether it's at work or whether it's personal, what are some of the things that frustrate you? And then how do you work to overcome that frustration? And then how would you describe your personality or temperament? You may have your Hogan and you may have this really lined out. My Hogan definitely, I've known I was excitable for all my life. My Hogan just helped me define that and a couple of other traits that tend to mesh together. And so perhaps you can talk about it from a Hogan perspective, or you can think about, if you haven't done the Hogan, how you interact under normal conditions and how you interact under stress. That temperament is typically where do you go when you're under stress, and how do you react to high amounts of stress? What's your preferred learning style? Do you prefer to read? Do you prefer to do a webinar, classroom, hands-on? What is your preferred style? And that can be utilized throughout the mentoring program. What obstacles have you had to overcome in your career? We've all had them. What are yours, and how did you get past those? Maybe you're still in the middle of it and working to overcome it right now. And then what successes have you had? What do you feel you can celebrate? And again, this can be from a personal perspective, educational perspective, professional, career, promotion. Any success that you've had that you want to share, this is going to give insight into you and how we can set you up for the next success in your career. And then what principles do you feel you understand and role model? So again, all of these questions are answered by both the mentor and the mentee. I typically go first as the mentor because I give a level of detail that I would hope shows an open open communication style, and that way it sets up, it opens that door for the mentee to be honest as well. Okay, next steps for the mentor. As a mentor, you are chosen for the participant that you were paired with because of your experiences and what you can contribute to their growth. Sharing your experiences and perspective is the largest portion of your role model, the largest portion of your role as the mentor. Share as appropriately to the discussion, but ultimately you're focusing on the mentee and their needs. So the first few sessions are designed to help you understand the following about your mentee and help you as you work together for the year. Number one, what blind spots does this mentee possibly have about themselves? I wish I could say we're all self-actualized and we know everything that we should be working on. We don't. I'm sure I've got several more I haven't even spotted yet, so feel free to tell me. But it really looking at, as you talk through some of these things and you begin to work on some of the situations that they're dealing with and work on it from a leadership perspective, you'll get through some of this and you can start helping that mentee with those items. How can you assist in growing the mentee's perspective? For especially in those relationships where it's maybe you're assisting someone who's in an outpatient or a long-term program and you're in a short-stay detox. So you guys can help grow and share perspective on what's going on with your different programs, just from the learning aspect of how it's different, how the programs may be different, and how they all roll up to the success of the foundation. What principles may still need to be developed? You can look at that from a culture, Synacor culture perspective. You can look at that from just overall core principles, and just think about, based on where the mentee, where they are wanting to go, what are some of the things that, the principles that they may need to be developed to get there. And where is your mentee's current thinking or focus, and how can you help broaden this to help them reach their career or personal goals? Some more next steps for mentees. On that first mentoring session, you're going to use those answers to gauge how you feel about the mentor-mentee relationship. So that first session where you're really opening up and your mentor is really opening up and you guys are building that rapport and getting to know each other, if you're unsure after that phone call why this mentor was chosen for you, please contact me. Reasons for matches are not always obvious. But if at the end of the day it's not a good fit, it's okay. We can reassign. We have other mentors, and we have the no-fault assignment termination. That's not termination from the program. No-fault mentor-mentee assignment termination. So we can change that. Not a problem. After the first meeting, you'll set your recurring appointment. So that will be an Outlook calendar. 2 hours per month is the standard. And it's scheduled per both parties' preference and availability. So you'll sign your mentoring agreement, send it to your mentor for their signature by 2/19/16, and then mentor sign and send to HR by 2/29/16. After all three parties have reviewed and acknowledged the mentoring goals, the form is signed and sent to HR for review, and your training file by 2/29. So all parties have to sign, the mentee, the mentor, and the supervisor. We have STARS 12 or Fred Pryor annual training passes that are being purchased for all participants effective 2/1/16. Some of you have had, if you've been in the program before, you had either STARS 12 or Fred Pryor, and we'll be contacting you to see if you want to stick with the one you have now or switch to the other training pass. You will be responsible for scheduling time and working with your direct supervisor, facility director, prior to review. I think I skipped a word. Working with your direct supervisor or facility director to put together the appropriate training library and customizing your training agenda. So once you have your login, you'll work with your facility director supervisor, as well as you can work with your mentor, or HR can assist if you want some direction based on what some of your goals are. Happy to assist with that. So again, you can write down the websites, but we will be sending this out with the email as we move forward. So your training agendas will need to be submitted to HR no later than 2/29/16. Again, all of this is going to be in one slide with the dates and will be sent out with emails. I know there's a lot of dates. Agendas will need to be a mix of live seminars, live webinars, and archive webinars to ensure that facility staffing is coordinated appropriately. So we have multiple people that are in the same locations, and so we can't have 3 or 4 managers all going to the live seminar on the same date and leave the facility understaffed, or access center, or whatever department it might be. So just remember that we need to get approvals for these things and make sure that we're not overlapping with others. So what does success look like for the mentoring program? Number one, the mentee is the driver for scheduling, for form completion, and for striving to meet the goals. They have the final responsibility for actions taken as a result of the mentoring. That lies with the mentee. The mentor provides effective mentoring to achieve goals, promptly acknowledges and responds to questions, requests, and form completion. The mentee should have an improved level of communication within the foundation, an increased sense of connection, so there'll be more networking, more connections across locations, so an increased sense of connection within the foundation. Increased self-awareness, hopefully, if we're working on some of those blind spots or filters, hopefully we'll have that increased self-awareness, and ultimately the improved leadership skills as well. The mentee will have clarity of their role for the foundation and improved understanding of other job roles and opportunities. Same for the mentor. Hopefully you have a better understanding of what the job role of your mentee if you haven't held that job previously. Both the mentee and mentor should grow from this experience, preparing them for additional leadership and career opportunities. And the program is being implemented to achieve results, always with our mission as the end result for our goals. So again, at the end of the day, all of the training and development, all of the focus that we're putting on growing our employees up so we can continue to support our clients and support our mission. If it wasn't our mission that was the goal at the end of the day, we would not be pouring the resources, the dollars, and the time into this, but it supports our mission, and therefore this is why we're putting this program together to support our mission to our clients. So a quick review of the deadlines, and this will go out in an email today. Set up your mentor/mentee tracking spreadsheet. It can be in a spreadsheet, it can be in Excel. Open some type of document, pull out a file with put some paper in it, however you want to do this, however manually or use technology to do this, but please make notes so you can document and track your progress, either as the mentee, track your progress, make your notes, follow up for assignments, mentor, so you can stay on top of. I know some of you have multiple mentees. Stay on top of what you're discussing with each mentee. By February 5th, have your first mentoring phone call by this date. Do the first meeting question set with each other. That will go out in an email. Both the mentor and the mentee should answer those questions. By 2/12/16, scan the results of the strengths-based leadership assessment to HR, your supervisor, and your mentor. Remember, ask Stephanie Alzadi if you need a code, and ask your facility director or supervisor if they have a copy of the book for you to read. We have multiple copies around because we did this for a managers conference several years ago. If you are a manager and have taken the Hogan, scan those results to your mentor as well. By February 19th, review your development goal worksheet and the appropriate training library with your supervisor and facility director by this date. Finalize your goals and your first 3 months of training. Scan your goal sheet, your mentoring agreement, and your training agenda to your mentor for a review during your next mentoring call. So they will take what you and your facility director or your supervisor have done, take a look at it, and they may have some additional feedback for you on those forms. And then by 2/29, you have your goal worksheet, your first 3 months training agenda, and the signed mentoring agreement turned into HR. So there's your dates, and we will be sending this out via email like I mentioned earlier. The LEAD program is work, as you've seen. It's your work on your career path with assistance and guidance from a mentor. It takes your time and effort and energy for your professional development. After seeing this video, you feel this is too much for you right now, please contact me and let me know before the annual training passes are purchased by the foundation, which I'm doing on January 28th. So again, this year might not be the right year for you for whatever reason, and if so, that's fine. Just let me know now. And if not, great, that you're putting this effort into you and your career, and we're happy to help you and support you with this. You can always reapply next year if the timing is better based on your work and personal commitments that you have right now. This by tapping out now before the 28th, you can always reapply for next year. We haven't put dollars into that training pass and other time commitments in it. So thank you for your time with the video. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me or call me at extension 3172. I'm about to now take my phone off Do Not Disturb, so I don't forget and leave it on Do Not Disturb as I've done before. And I hope this answered some of your questions. Again, an email will be coming out tomorrow, Friday the 22nd. Thanks so much. Have a great day.